experience what it means to release their music into the world, even for sale. So to that next step. At Dallas College, we begin asking a simple question: what would happen if every student completed the full creative cycle of write, recording, and releasing their original music as part of their education? So that led us to what we call the 3 R's: write, record, and release. Okay, the music industry doesn't separate creativity, technology, and distribution. Students entering this field must understand all 3. When students only perform pre-existing works, they often struggle to see themselves as creators. But when they write original music, record it, and prepare it for public presentation, something shifts. They stop asking, is this music good enough for class, for an assignment? And they start asking, is this good enough for the world? Or will my friends like this music? Will the general public like my music? So defining the 3 R's. The first R obviously is write. You're creating something original in music. It could be a song, a score, a beat, or a soundtrack. The point is ownership. The student owns the copyright for the music. And we teach them how to copyright the music as well. The second R is record. So we're learning the technical and collaborative skills required to translate ideas into professional quality artifacts. And the third R is release, preparing the work for presentation, reflection, and in some cases, public distribution. This is the step that's most often missing. I use, for instance, CD Baby to release my music into, and of course, not everybody makes physical CDs anymore, but it's mostly for streaming and digital distribution. So for instance, I have about 12 albums out now under my own name, and they're available on Spotify and all the streaming platforms around the world. And I also make physical CDs sometimes too, because I still like them, and people sometimes purchase them at my shows. Okay. In the classroom, we are very project-based, and the original student work is assessed, and this is something that's done authentically and not abstract. The students leave with tangible evidence of learning. This is their creation. This increases motivation and accountability. Now we get to the very interesting part of my presentation, the D-Jammy Awards as applied learning. This is the centerpiece of our approach with the 3 R's. It's in its 15th year now. It's at Dallas College. I started this soon after I started teaching at Dallas College. And they, of course, write, record, and release music. Faculty serve as mentors throughout the process, guiding both artistic decisions and professional presentation. What's important is that the awards function not just as a celebration, but as a rigorous learning environment. Students experience deadlines, accountability, feedback, and recognition, all within a supportive academic framework. One subtle thing is how the instructional design and the applied assessment is done. In this case, I gather all of these submissions now in about 20 different categories, and the students vote on the music. They choose the winners. Okay, so they listen to the 1-minute clips on a website, and then they give a score to each piece based on how much they like it. And the score is from 60 to 100, because we use kind of like a grading system at school, but I want them to think of it like nobody's failing, but still, not everybody's going to win either. But so if you like a song a lot, maybe you give it a 98, or sometimes they give it 100%. Then you listen to the next song. Maybe you don't like it as much, so maybe you give it a 90. And then I just add up the scores, and we pick the winners this way. So I like that. It's very fair that way. And so many times in education, the teacher just gives a grade, right? And so we say, you get 100, you get a 80 or whatever. But with creative things like making original music, it's hard to say sometimes objectively, especially for one person, to just say, this one's better than this one. So I like it that the students decide. So one of the first questions my students asked me when I first created the DJAMI Awards was, well, how much do we win? How much money do we get? And even the real Grammy Awards, which I'll talk more about later, and I was nominated for a Grammy myself, but they don't come with cash awards. A lot of people don't know. But it is very transformative in your life and in your career. So my students come from a very disadvantaged community in southern Dallas County. So that question made perfect sense. And it also made something very clear to me. If this was going to matter, it had to be real. That realization led to the creation of my nonprofit, the Musical Institute for Knowledge and Education. Mike, and my name is Mike too, so, but it's a 501c3, not-for-profit organization, which allows us to fund small cash awards for the DJAMI winners. Well, we started very small, $20 awards, out of my own pocket before I started the nonprofit. And we just had 2 categories in the beginning, so it was only $40. But now we've grown to about 20 categories and $100 for the winners. And so it's about $2,000 every year. The point is not the amount, but it's the validation. The students, there's a lot of good bragging rights for them. They win a Grammy or a DJAMI. And also I have a path for them to go from the DJAMIs to the real Grammys. We're demystifying the process. Because a lot of people, maybe you've seen the Grammy Awards on television, but you think, well, that's, way up here, and I'm way down here with my creation. But there is a definite path to the Grammys, which I learned about after being nominated myself. I offer students who complete our producer and songwriter program the opportunity to submit a song or an album for the actual Grammys. As a voting member myself, I can submit things for consideration into the Grammy process. There's a specific deadline, and there's basic criteria that must be followed. But when I was nominated, that experience was very transformative. And I wanted my students to understand that the process isn't mysterious, it's specific. You have to know the rules, you have to follow the protocol, and as we say, you have to be in it to win it. Because if you don't submit for the Grammys, then 100% you will not be nominated or win. So a lot of people don't know this, and sometimes we hear about certain artists who were snubbed, they say, so-and-so had the best hip hop song and he didn't get nominated. And I always ask them, well, are you sure that he submitted his song? Because if he didn't, then of course he didn't get nominated. Also, the deadline runs September 1st through the end of August. So if a new album came out, let's say in September or October of 2025, right? It's not going to be for the Grammys. The Grammys are happening in 3 weeks. I'll be attending also with my wife Lona. And but if a new song just came out in September, October, November, December, it won't be part of the Grammy Awards that is on February 1st of 2026. It will be on the 2027 Grammy Awards. So you have to understand the whole process, meet the deadline, which is in the summer, to be able to be in the process. So that transparency is the lesson. And let's see, moving on. Key takeaways from the DJAMIs is, transparency about the process, real world professional pathways, concrete examples of how systems actually work. And, it's about teaching them also to promote their work. Sometimes people feel that it's bad if somebody is promoting their own success, you know, something like that. But in the music industry, of course, somebody's got to promote you. You know, it's kind of like the McDonald's example you use. You can make a great product, but if nobody's ever heard of it, they're not going to buy it. You know, it has to be sold to the public. So we're teaching the rules of the game. So it's just increases confidence and ownership, technical and creative mastery, because they're getting practice in making these songs. Most of this is inside the computer too, and it's very computer and software oriented. In fact, we're working to change the classification of this program from music theory and composition to computer and software orientation, because this is something that can be used for many different jobs and skills besides just the music industry, and that will also help to bring more funding to our college. Another partnership that we recently created about 3 years ago is with the Save the Music Foundation. They're in New York City, and this extends this model beyond the campus, exposing high school students to these concepts while they're still in high school. The Save the Music Foundation picks a high school. Sometimes it's based on maybe a famous artist went to that high school. And it's usually in disadvantaged communities. Then they give them a grant of approximately around $100,000 of technology and equipment, laptops, iPads, speakers, microphones, everything you need to create music. And then they hire me to go to the high school and show them how to use the equipment, create music, etc. So it's really a wonderful collaboration. What makes this model work is not the expensive equipment or specialized facilities, but it's the intentional design. Any institution could adopt the 3 R's by focusing on creation, completion, and public presentation. The scale can vary, but the philosophy stays the same. So when students are trusted as creators and guided through the full creative cycle, education becomes transformative rather than transactional. The 3 R's, write, record, release, offer a simple framework for empowering students, strengthening curriculum, and extending impact beyond the classroom. Well, thank you. That's the end of my presentation. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me later, and I can send you some type of handout or something like that. So thank you for your sharing the presentation and for your other presentations. Okay. Have a great time in Hawaii, everybody.